about the Boy Scouts.
All right.
Let's do this. Oh, did you see that? I did my jiggle move again. Okay, good afternoon. Today is Friday, July 10th, 2020. Today we're going to talk about the public betas, more rumors about different devices coming soon, and a whole lot more, because this is the iMore show. And joining us once again this week, the founder and lead of anxiety-videos.com, Georgia Dow. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, and may I wish you a very happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Everyone send little happy birthday tweets to Lori.
I will accept all of your birthday tweets. And also joining us on the show this week is Joe Keller, Assistant Managing Editor at iMore. Welcome back to the show, Joe.
It's good to be here. It's good to just be standing at this point. And I'll say happy birthday to you again.
Thank you. Yes. Oh, Joe has been just crushing everything beta right now. So he's all up in the betas right now. His world is all about new things. So let's get started on it right away then. So Georgia, I don't know if you heard, because I know that you're the kind of person who waits until 3 years after an update even comes out to update. So, but the public beta is launched yesterday. So dev beta is launched a couple weeks ago at WWDC, and that one is the one where nobody should download that because it's way too dangerous. It's way too unstable, though this year it was incredibly stable. But today, you don't have to have a developer account now. You can join the public beta. Again, we recommend that you don't do this on your main phone. Even though it's more stable, that doesn't mean anything. You could lose some of your most important apps or files or something like that because they just don't work in the public beta yet. So don't do this on your main device. If you've got one iPhone, just don't do it. If you have an iPhone and an iPad, maybe put it on your iPad because that's okay. You know,
you can test one out. You can test one out, but don't send angry tweets to Lori or Joe if you did it and something bad happens, because it is the risk. That's the reason that it's a beta.
Yes, exactly. It's a beta.
And this is very important. If you're going to ignore our advice here and install it on your main device, back up your phone, back up your iPad.
That's such a good idea before you do anything, right? Like before you bring it in to get fixed at the Apple Store, they'll all be like, did you back up? But if you're not sure, pick it up again.
I mean, I say back up your device before you make a phone call, but you know, I'm weird like that.
But you should be naturally backing up your phone all the time, because
always be backing up. I have this very strong sense of I don't care if I break it because I have a backup so I can fix it. It's a very comforting feeling knowing that once you've protected your data, you can kind of like destroy your device because you've got that backup waiting for you. So it's really helpful. So definitely back it up. And if you're downloading iPadOS 14, the betas of iPadOS 14 or iOS 14, make an archived backup on your phone or on your Mac. We'll include how to do that in the show notes. But the point of doing an archived backup is that you can actually downgrade back to iOS 13. If you jump onto the beta of iOS 14 and you just go,
that's so great. Yes, such a great point of advice.
Yes, because you can't downgrade from iOS 14 without, you can't just use a backup, because the new operating system that's already on your phone, that's the only operating system that the backup will use. So an archive backup, it's actually in its own little like separate container that it keeps iOS 13 safe. So you want that archive backup so that you can downgrade if you need to. So
if it's very buggy for you in an area that you need it, you can go back where usually you're stuck.
Exactly. Yeah. The archive backup will protect you doubly. You don't just get your data saved from a normal backup. You get like the extra special downgradable protection so that you can go back to the previous operating system. So iOS 13, iOS 14, iPadOS 14, and tvOS 14 are all in public beta 1. We do not yet have the macOS Big Sur public beta and the supposed Apple Watch public beta that I still can't believe is actually happening.
The instructions
not
are
out
there.
yet.
The instructions for the WatchOS 7 beta are there.
They're up now.
The profile isn't present.
Isn't available. So Joe, tell us a little bit about this, because for anybody who jumps in on these betas, we've never had a public beta for Watch before, and one of the reasons is you can't downgrade. You can't go back on it. Once it's installed, that's it. So Apple hasn't really been keen on letting people break their watches like that.
Yeah.
But this year, I guess they decided people should be allowed to break their watches like that, because you can't restore it. You can't, like that's it. You have to send it to Apple if you need to get it fixed.
So the thing about this is, not only can you not downgrade, you cannot force a backup of your watch without unpairing it from your iPhone, which is that's terrible. That's just terrible. And Apple should do something about that in the future. But they haven't yet. So here we are. They I don't know why I don't know why they're doing this.
It's really surprising.
Very few people probably would put a beta on their watch, because they wouldn't, like, most people are casual users. The watch is so I think that probably the use case is for very few. For those that it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
But they've probably not gotten that many complaints.
Yeah.
I would say that part of why they may have done this is that, even against the advice of not putting a public beta on your main phone, people do it. But once you get your phone on the public beta, your watch doesn't work with it anymore, because it's still on the previous.
Well, no,
not in the same way.
The watch works with the phone. It's just that, you need the iOS beta. You need the current iOS version to get the watch beta. And I think what this probably has a lot to do with is people are looking for less than official channels of obtaining betas.
Right.
And this can be a problem for things like data security and malware.
Right. Yeah. So to walk us through the steps so far, is it the same thing as if you were to download and install the developer beta?
Essentially, except that you're going to beta.apple.com instead of going through the
developer.beta.apple.com.
Yeah. So you just go to beta.apple.com, click WatchOS, and then when and you do this all on the phone that is paired with your Apple Watch. That's very important. You can't just download the profile anywhere.
Right, and the phone has to be on the beta first.
You need. I think you need the latest beta. To get the I think you can't be on beta 1 and then update to the WatchOS public beta when it's available. I think you need to be on the corresponding iOS beta.
So if it's if WatchOS 7 beta comes out, it would be iOS 14 beta 2, public beta 2.
Yeah, if it comes out, say, good God, some point today, then you would need either developer beta 2 or public beta 1, which are, it should be noted, the same build of the same beta build. So beta 2, dev beta 2, public beta 1 are the same. So you need one of those, and then basically you tap the download profile button that's going to appear, and then you're whisked off to the Watch app on your phone. You hit install and agree in some order. You hit install, and then agree, and then you want to restart your Apple Watch. Actually, you'll get a pop-up request to restart your Apple Watch. You just hit the button. Your watch will automatically restart. It'll come back. You unlock it. Then you can download and install the beta either through your Apple Watch, because that's something they added in WatchOS 6, or what's probably the better solution, through the Watch app on your phone, because you have to open up the Watch app on your phone anyway.
And if I'm not mistaken, your watch has to be on its charger?
So yeah, you need the watch
Yeah.
on the charger, and the watch needs to be at 50% charge already.
Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind if you're at work when the watchOS beta comes out and you get all excited about it. Don't try to install it because unless you've got a charger for your watch at work, but most
And enough
of us don't.
time.
Yeah.
And enough time.
Right?
Yeah, it does take a
You're going to
while.
be stuck there while you're waiting for it. You can't just decide to leave.
Yeah, you got to do all of that with Wi-Fi, all the good stuff. So
yeah.
And one more thing, excuse me, to mention is that the betas are very stable right now, and that's really nice. Last year they were a hot mess and a disaster, but just as a reminder, just because the first version of the beta is in good, stable condition, it doesn't mean that beta 2 isn't going to just wreck your device. So keep that in mind when you're, when you got that FOMO and you feel like you want to update your only iPhone to the beta of iOS 14, just because it's stable now doesn't mean it's going to be stable in the next time. So I just have to really hit home how important it is to not do it. And if you really are going to take that risk, make an archive backup so that you can downgrade if you need to.
And whatever beta you're downloading, no matter how stable, and this also goes for standard software updates, so keep this in mind, it's going to be a hot mess when it comes to the battery.
It will always
download it. Because it's got to index a lot of stuff in the background, things like photos and files and all that sort of stuff. So just have a charger handy and give it
it's so hard though. It is really hard. This is the one I haven't had that pull to download as much as I have for this one. I actually was like, Renee, how long am I waiting? What? And I really did. And I can't lose my phone, right? I can't lose my phone. Yeah. I have to have it. I have people that are in dire need to reach me. I can't have it messed up. But every time I get a phone call and the phone call hijacks my screen, I'm like, oh, maybe, because I know that this one's working really well. There haven't been a lot of problems. And then I see a little widget. I'm like, bloody hell, I really do want it. This one is one that is just going to give you, I get so angry when you're doing something and suddenly you have a phone call and you have that choice. Do I deny? Do I wait? Do I message them? Do I?
Georgia.
So, is that the one, the hijack of your phone screen? Is that the one thing that's making you want to switch over? That's your biggest new feature that you're excited about?
Yeah. I think that it was, and I think it was rude and obtrusive beforehand, right? It made me angry that here's some, you're doing something and then it's someone's I'm shutting you down. You can't do anything. You're going to have to wait.
Even if you don't want to answer.
Well, that's the thing. You have to wait. You have to wait if you don't want to answer. Then you decline, then you deal with it. Renee's no, you want Siri. Yes, Siri could be better, but I'm not getting Siri's not really better. I don't believe, right? So you can tell me, oh yeah, Siri's suddenly really intelligent. I won't believe you. I want proof on this, right? She has to do a IQ test, and then maybe I will be buying. I probably won't buy it, but that I think is just going to be life changing for most people. I think that's very frustrating.
So Georgia, I got a phone call on iOS 14 this week with the new pop-down notification thing, and it was magical.
Was it amazing?
It was great.
Are you what took you guys so long?
I had a hard time registering it in my brain. Actually, wait a minute, what am I? Oh, right.
What is this? What is this thing?
What's this new thing?
Did I almost burn my phone as a witch? Maybe.
That's fair. That's fair. Witches are cool now, so that's fine.
Yeah, it was. It just was. Oh, right. It was just so. It was so much nicer than it has ever been.
That's nice. I never thought of it as being intrusive. It's not that it's not, because it is. It just never really crossed my mind. It's just, this is the way the world is. So I didn't think of it in any other way. And now that I know that, so I do have the dev beta, but it's not on my main phone. It's on one of my spares. So I haven't received any phone calls on it because it's not set up for phone calls. But now that I know that there's something else besides capturing your entire screen, I can't wait.
Right. Like it's like when you were in the fishbowl and you couldn't see the world outside, and then you went, there's this beautiful world outside. There's another way to do this.
Yeah.
I think
seems very exciting.
I think for a lot of us, and like it never really occurred to me too much because I don't get a lot of phone calls in the first place. And then I don't get a lot of phone calls. I especially don't get a lot of phone calls while I'm using my phone. So it's always full screen for me when I get a call because I'm taking it out of my pocket.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But when you're the few times in your life where you're actually doing something on your phone and then somebody calls, that's when it's nice to not have it.
I don't think anyone is going to be sad about this change. Like usually there's a few people that are like, no, I want, I want the old
I want
way.
my screen captured.
It's kind of like
held hostage.
It's kind of like when we first got the current style of alerts that fold down from the top of the screen instead of the modal ones that would pop up from the center and block everything.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Why was that? Why was that ever the design? It's not
right. Yeah. Who thought of that? Right.
Yeah. It's. I don't think anyone misses the modal alerts. I think.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No one wants to be disturbed. Right?
I think
if you're relaxing, especially.
Yeah. Or, if you're paying attention to something on your phone, like anytime you do something where you're paying attention to anything, if someone comes and taps you on the shoulder, your first thought is, leave me alone. And then you go, oh, wait.
But it's almost like it was like not just tapping you on the shoulder, it was tapping you and being like, look at me, hello, look at me, I'm still calling, look at me, hello. And you're like, no, it's not polite. It's not a polite way of dealing with conversation. No. So it was, it's a social faux pas, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Our phones have actually been kind of rude for a long time. Like when you get your phone is telling you, when your map app is giving you directions, and you might be in the middle of a conversation, or maybe you're listening to music or something, and then your map app comes out and goes, make a left at the next corner. Rah, rah, rah. You're like, whoa, chill out. All right. You don't have to yell at me. Say, excuse me first.
Or sometimes I'll yell, I know where I'm going. I just need you for the last bit.
Right. Yep.
Stop it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think the iOS 14 and iPadOS 14, one of the small user face design changes that it doesn't seem as noticeable, but it's across the board, is that sort of ability to keep you in the moment while you're doing other things. So talking on the phone, for example, just everything that you do when you're talking on the phone now allows you to continue to scroll through a website that you're reading, or address some other notifications. And I think that across the board, this design change is kind of lending itself to allow us to continue to do what we need to do and not be interrupted by the conversation. We're actually just incorporating the conversation into whatever it was we were doing. So it's kind of a nice little thing.
It's much more fluid. Like it's just much more fluid. You continue with something if you want, you can move to something if you don't. The widgets allow to have kind of at your fingertips information that you might need for your day. You can message people specifically without having to go out, go back in, find out, where are they? Am I right? Right. It just seems like they really worked on making it more intuitive and a much more Zen experience.
It's like, and you mentioned this, you brought this up, Georgia, the sort of inline replies in messages now. Those, you can just scroll past that. You don't need to see like a whole mini conversation in your group message thread. You can just scroll past and it's like, that didn't involve me.
Yeah, that's so nice. Isn't that nice? So that if you don't have to have, like, because sometimes, especially if you're part of lots of messaging group, or if you have that family member that is chatty, you can choose to go when you need to. But if they want to talk to someone else, you're not forced to be part of a mini conversation that someone might be too, we're lazy by nature, right? We're going to use the shortest barrier to entry. And so sometimes it's just, I'm in that conversation, I'm going to type to this person. And now you can do that and you don't have to. Some people won't use it, and you're still like, sorry, you're still gonna have to. They're just gonna type to everyone. But I like a lot of these changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about the picture-in-picture on iPhone? It's already been a thing for iPad, but they've now brought it to iPhone. Do you think this is neat and awesome, or do you think this is kind of dumb because how are you going to fit all of that on one tiny screen? Which one? Which camp are you on?
Well, you know, I used to watch back in college. I used to watch episodes of Battlestar Galactica on an iPod, on a video iPod.
Okay.
So
you're used to watching things on tiny screens. Got it.
Small, yeah. And I actually think this might be, you know, if you're just looking at it, while using your phone in portrait mode, I think it might actually even be wider than that little iPod screen.
Especially on the Max, right?
Oh yeah. And
yeah.
And so yeah, I think it's a good change. I don't watch a lot of video on my iPhone, but it's a nice to have, especially since, you know, like on the iPad, you can tuck it away into the side.
Here's a user experience that I think could really be beneficial. So if you are trying to figure out how to do something, but also trying to read some instructions on how to do something, I think that's a brilliant thing. I can't count the amount of times where, you know, I couldn't figure out how to like take the wheel off of my bike, or, you know, something was wrong with my grill and I had to watch a video, but I was also scrolling through, you know, comments of like people who had the same experience and what they did, but I couldn't watch the video and read the comments at the same time. And that I think is a great user experience where you can watch that how-to video, but also be like checking of like, is my issue the same thing as this? Let me see what other people are saying. You know, that I think is a good use case for that sort of thing.
I'm with you, Lori. Like I'll do like a recipe and I want to have like the recipe ingredients, because sometimes in the recipes they don't say it, or they just like throw in some flour. And so I'm flipping between, you know, the video of the recipe and then the actual ingredient. And I'm having to like kind of do this flippy fluke to see what they're doing, because I want it to end up looking okay. And so I think that video, it allows you that option to be able to multitask between two things, but also sometimes it's the same thing. I need the steps here, but I want to see the video for that part, and I can play it and it's there. And if I don't want to, I don't have to. I think I'll use it more often than I think.
Yeah. Is picture-in-picture going to be supported for YouTube? Joe, you've used it more than I have.
That's a good question. So Google generally uses custom stuff. It's the same reason you don't have Scribble right now on the iPad and the Google Docs apps. So it doesn't use the standard iOS video player. It's not supported right now.
Okay.
So
we don't know. We have to wait and see whether or not they're going to support it.
I would love for them to support it. I think so. I don't know if it requires support for like background audio or something like that, but background playback on YouTube is something that they only support for their premium subscribers.
Right. Right. They may be wanting to keep that within if you have to pay for it, if you want to use it kind of thing. That's totally possible.
Yeah, I think you might be able to use it I haven't tried it, but if you go to YouTube in Safari, maybe.
Like on your iPhone, you go to Safari, youtube.com.
Yeah.
Not when you open the app.
Right.
The YouTube app. Okay, that could be a workaround, I suppose. I think if I remember when picture-in-picture first came to iPad, YouTube did not support it. But then it later did support it. But then didn't it take away that support later too? Am I getting all that wrong?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. It's been years.
Yeah.
I don't remember anymore. But yeah, I think it's going to be nice to have it. I don't think it's going to be quite as useful as it is on the iPad, but I do think that there's going to be occasions where, and again, Georgia, this kind of lends itself to that comfortable flow of not having to stop. Your screen isn't being held hostage by that thing. You know, that's another kind of case where you can continue to watch something while, writing your thesis or something like that. You can do that. You can do them both at the same time. So it's kind of fun that they're kind of adding a lot of that stuff in. And then Joe, Scribble.
Ooh, Scribble.
I think that's kind of, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but I was playing a game. I was playing a game online with some of my friends, and we had a little text chat window, right? I started handwriting in the chat window, and it worked. And
How was it, Lori? Can you tell me the experience of writing it in and then having it pop in, and what was that like?
Yeah, so I started writing, a sentence, the cat turns blue. I don't remember what I was saying, but let's just say it's the cat turns blue. So I start handwriting the cat, nothing is happening. So I think, oh, it must not be working. But as I start writing the third word, then the first two words that I just wrote, they just pop up as a text. So that's it. Bam, you just are immediately having text while you're writing. So it doesn't happen immediately. It happens like it takes a minute. It has a little bit of a lag, but it's always right. And I have the worst handwriting. Everybody talks about how they have bad handwriting. I write like I haven't, like I stopped at third grade learning how to write. So for me, I really do have bad handwriting, and it catches that. And I have, like, the way I write an A is very weird. It's like the way a typewriter A looks, and it catches that. It doesn't accidentally call it an E or something like that. So it even captures like weird ways of writing letters.
So one of the things I found with Scribble is it does, like, I do have strange ways of writing M's sometimes. So I might, it might turn a V into an M if I write it a certain way. But what it doesn't do, and I think this is interesting, it doesn't autocorrect. Really, it looks at what it thinks it sees, and then it puts that on the screen. But like dictation, it's got the little blue dots under it, so you can tap it and say, "No, I meant this."
That's not the word. That wasn't what I was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's really impressive to me about this, so it's powered by Apple's machine learning tech, which I think has been getting better and better every year.
Definitely.
But you don't set it up. You don't set up Scribble. There's no training with Scribble. You just start writing.
Yeah, and when you're, I've got the Magic Keyboard for my iPad, so it's not like I would use it instead of typing. But the reason, for example, I started writing with my Apple Pencil into that text chat window. I was using my Apple Pencil to do something on the screen, and then I just naturally just went to the window. Like, I just immediately was thinking of writing a response. So it just like happened naturally. And I like the ability to like kind of like make that flow continue to work without having to put the pencil down, highlight the chat window, start your typing, and then hit enter. It's kind of neat that you can kind of do everything on the screen with your pencil and not have to kind of flip out, flip in, flip out, flip in.
Yeah.
And have you used it for have you used it for any third-party note-taking apps?
So yeah, I use it with Tot quite a lot. Tot's been Tot might be my app of the year. It's just this little scratch paper app that I find infinitely useful.
Nice.
But yeah, I've been using that with Tot for a bit. And what's great is I'm not running like the Tot beta or anything like that. None of my apps are that I use this with are in beta mode except for Notes. And it just works. It like works on top of the existing text field layer. So if you have regular text fields implemented in your app, Scribble's going to work right away. And I'm sure there's stuff developers can do to like tighten that up or support it even better. or give it additional controls, because you've got that little palette that you can activate down in the corner.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's stuff that developers will be able to do with that. But just right out of the gate, being able to actually use a scratch paper app like Scratch Paper, where you're just writing down really quick,
yes,
and watch it turn into text. It's fantastic.
It's beautiful.
And what you were talking about, Lori, I think, just you were doing something already with the pencil, and then you needed to type, so you wrote. I think that's exactly the kind of use case Apple was envisioning with this.
Right.
It's what they built it for. I don't think they thought, okay, so people are going to take the iPad off their Magic keyboards and then they're going to start writing with their hand instead of typing with their fingers.
Right.
It's just, it's just, it makes the Apple Pencil more useful. And I was saying this earlier, this might be the biggest Apple Pencil update since the Apple Pencil.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's a fun feature that will be more useful than you might realize. On the surface, Scribble seems like maybe niche or kind of just like a little extra, but I think it will actually present more fluid use cases in the future than people even realize, because it just happens naturally. You just suddenly find yourself writing with your pencil without realizing it.
Yeah, distressingly, I feel like it's almost been, and pardon the pun, but written off a little bit. It's just this kind of weird niche feature when it might be the single most impressive thing that Apple showed at WWDC.
Yeah,
at least
maybe. Yeah,
it's definitely up there. Right? That ability, especially if you're doing notes. Like I don't do my notes on my.
Oh no.
Sorry, Georgia. Georgia's been having some technical difficulties, and for some reason her audio just keeps cutting out. So we lost her on that one. She's been secretly signing out and signing back in, trying to get it to work, but this time it just cut her off in the middle of her sentence. So we may lose Georgia permanently for the rest of this episode. So if we lose you and you don't come back, we love you, Georgia. we're not cutting you off, we promise. But in the meantime, let's move on to tvOS. Joe, did Georgia, your mute button is now off. Say something. Oh, she can't even hear us though, is the problem. Okay, so we'll just keep going without her. So did you install tvOS 14?
I did. It's fine. There's just not a lot to it.
There's not a lot to it, right? I think.
Yeah.
For the same reason that I think Apple doesn't usually make major changes to a Mac, I think that's why Apple doesn't usually make major changes to Apple TV, and that's because it's so important to our daily lives. Like when Apple completely changes the user interface of a Mac, it affects our workflow. It affects our ability to do the things that we've been doing all along as fast as we have been. Suddenly things are behind new settings, and that's very frustrating, and it slows us down. So Apple tends to not do those major changes very often. And I think Apple TV is the same thing. They keep it, they just maintain it. They don't make major changes because this is where we watch our TV. And if it became more difficult for us to figure out how to watch our favorite shows, then we'd be angry because it didn't work right. One of the big changes, though, and you may not even had a chance to experience this, but multi-user Apple Arcade support is, in my opinion, the biggest change that they made. I think it's something that they desperately needed before. Yeah. Have you had the opportunity to have that happen? Do you have another person in your house that uses Apple Arcade?
No, I don't. I don't use Apple Arcade with anyone in the house, so I haven't really had a chance to play with that. It's kind of interesting that was missing last year when they added multi-user support. Like it's
exactly.
a strange omission. It's a strange omission.
Yeah. One of our iMore writers, Brian Wolf, he and his daughter, they both play video games on Apple Arcade. They love it. And on Apple TV, when multi-profile support came out, he was so excited. He set her up with her own screen so that she could get her own TV shows TV show suggestions and music suggestions and all that stuff. And it was really great. And then she went to play some Apple Arcade games, and he had to sign out of Apple Arcade on his profile so that she could sign in to Apple Arcade on her profile. Totally ruins the experience.
It's
so frustrating.
It's like trying to use a second account in Chrome.
Yeah.
Why would you even try?
Yeah, what's the point? It doesn't do what you need it to. So the fact that they're bringing that, I think, is really great.
Yeah. I also think the updates for HomeKit are pretty good. The viewing of HomeKit secure video cameras.
Yes. So I'm getting my first HomeKit supported video camera. I can't pronounce the name right, but EUFY, EUFY, Eufy. Thank you.
I think it's Eufy.
Eufy. They're sending me one of their HomeKit supported security cams to test out. So I really look forward to using that alongside Apple TV, because that is kind of the thing. I have a Ring doorbell. And so if somebody rings my doorbell, I have to pick up my phone, I have to open the app, I have to tap on live view. And at that point, that poor person has waited, 10, 15 seconds, and I haven't even gotten up, because if it's somebody I don't want to talk to, if I don't want to answer the door, I'm not going to walk up to the door until I know that it's someone I want to answer the door for. So I love the idea that you can just get this little pop-up that your doorbell rings, or you get the motion sensor. I guess that I don't think there's any HomeKit compatible security cameras that are also doorbells, but you could at least get your notification on screen that somebody has approached your front porch. You can see who it is. That way, by the time they ring the doorbell, you already know whether or not you want to go open the door. Yeah, so that's pretty nice.
And what's really interesting, and it ties into the larger sort of updates with HomeKit, is their Apple's doing securely stored facial recognition.
Yes.
Through these HomeKit updates, and so it can recognize people who are at your door, and so you can get a pop-up on your Apple TV. You might also get a notification through your HomePod.
Through your HomePod. Ooh, so even if you're in the kitchen, when somebody comes up to your door, your HomePod could actually announce, your best friend is at the door.
Yeah,
I love this.
Emily, I love this, or whatever.
Yeah, that's so great. I can't wait to try this out. I'm very excited about that. I have not actually updated to tvOS, because for similar reasons why I don't put the developer beta on my Apple Watch. I don't have a spare, so my Apple TV is my main, but I will be using it to test out the developer beta, or the public beta, because I think in this case, just because of the work that we do, I'm willing to take the risk in order to test out the features and see how they work and talk about them.
And eventually you got to start living with them if you want to
yes.
learn about them.
Yeah, exactly. You just gotta.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest change for me in tvOS 14 is they've updated the design slightly of the control center. So it's more in that sort of floaty design rather than just a shade that comes over part of the screen.
Yeah. And they've added to it, right? Because right now, the only thing that you can do, if I remember, in Control Center is switch accounts or turn off Apple TV.
Well, no, there have been some controls in there for a while, like changing sound sources and seeing
on the side, in the
control
I guess
center,
I haven't even paid attention to it.
I pay a lot of attention to control centers. That's just a hobby.
Well, I'm glad you're here to give me more information. So, so you can also adjust. You can select speakers, right?
Yeah,
AirPlay speakers.
Like if you have a pair of HomePods, which I do, I have a pair of HomePods set up right over here. That I like to connect to my Apple TV to watch things watch things through the TV app, because the YouTube app it doesn't play nice with HomePod.
No, why? I know, it's so frustrating.
Use system standard, Google, please.
I know.
That's what I asked. But yeah, I use it for that. Also, speaking of sound, they have updated the volume UI on Apple TV. It's now more like the new one that they introduced for the iPhone last year, where it's a tiny bar that goes up the side of the screen.
Right.
Instead
Ooh,
of
instead
covering
of
the
these
corner.
little like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. I
I
like
discovered
that.
that today.
So actually that makes me think of something. So my HomePods, I'm the same way. I have a pair of HomePods that are connected to my Apple TV with left and right stereo. And basically it works fluidly when I'm watching an iTunes movie or if I'm watching something in the TV app. But if I watch Netflix or Hulu or an app and YouTube is out of the question. No matter what, it won't work with
It's a
that.
joke.
But with the others, what will happen is like it will lose its connection. I have to go back in and not reset. It's just I have to like pull down the menu, click over to speakers, switch it back to the AirPods or the HomePods. That has never seemed to have really been a good fix. Do you see that? Have you noticed that happening with the developer beta on tvOS?
So I haven't used it with Netflix a lot. Like a lot of my day is I'm either watching something in my up now or up next menu or something on YouTube just to have something. Because a lot of what's in up next is stuff I've seen before, so it's really great for background noise.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
And I haven't noticed, so I turn it off explicitly for YouTube. So I haven't had a lot of time to play around with Netflix, but I have experienced similar problems to that before. The solution I found for that is don't pause. Just
don't pause.
just let it ride, and it won't unstick, as I say.
Yeah. It unsticks itself. That's so true. It's not the end of the world. It just like I find myself instead of going through the rigmarole of getting the HomePods connected to my Apple TV again, I just leave the TV app going unless I'm like preparing to watch a movie, which that's different than just having something on in the background, you know. But if I'm like, okay, I rented this movie, or I'm going to sit down and watch this movie, then I'll do the work to get it on. And there are some like the Disney Plus app. The Disney Plus app it's similar to YouTube in that you can't just swipe down from the top of the screen and then access the speaker options.
Yeah.
You have to actually go into settings to do it. So that's been a little bit of a frustration for me that it's not even in there.
So the thing is about that is you can access the control center from anywhere, from any app. So you just hold down on the TV button, slide that over, and do speaker stuff from there.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm gonna try that next because I hadn't even considered control center. I didn't even realize that you could switch speakers from that area. So that's good to know.
The only thing I would caution you and everyone who's listening to this to remember to do is you'll be presented with a list menu of all of the available sound sources for your current Apple TV. So like your TV speakers, like HomePods. If you're going to use HomePods, uncheck the TV speakers because you will probably end up with some audio sync issues otherwise.
Yeah, I've had that happen too, and just unchecking everything other than HomePods is the way to do it.
And
so
really you can because HomePods are a great TV. They're great speakers when they work.
Yeah, they're amazing. So we've got Georgia back, but her mute button. Did you just unmute? Are you?
I'm thinking that maybe I'm out of time, not on mute. So now I'm just keeping it on mute if I'm not talking. I don't know.
Georgia, you showed up at the perfect time because what I was hoping we would be talking about next. So we're done talking about the betas. We went through like all the fun things that are in the 3 public betas that are out now. But what I wanted to start talking about is the rumors of new devices coming up. And I know that you, like me, love to just imagine a world of where. So I'm glad you were able to come back because I thought, oh, our next segment is the rumor segment and Georgia doesn't get to be a part of it. So I'm so glad you got back on.
Yeah, hopefully it'll keep me on. If I suddenly just go, I'll just disappear. I'll do my best. Yeah.
Yeah, we can kind of tell actually. We see a little mute button that appears next to your name and then a look on your face. And we know,
it's again, it's happened again. I tried updating everything. So I'm yeah.
Well, hopefully this works.
So Lori, what are you most excited about out of the new technology that might, like, if you get one, what would it be?
Yeah, I would say I really love the widgets on home screen. The ability to really take control of what my home screens look like. I know it's still not Android freedom, but I can really, without any other apps that support it, the only apps right now that support it are Apple's built-in apps. Even with just that, I can make my home screen have a big, huge widget of photos of the day. I love that so much. I remember that. And it's right there on my home screen. And then below that, I have, the weather so that I can, what's the weather like outside? Because honestly, the weather app, it shows you the temperature, but you can't see that. It's so tiny. My eyes
doesn't
can't
count.
see that. Yeah, so having one that's actually like slightly larger so I can actually see. And if I want to switch it between just showing me the current time and spreading it out to today's forecast, I can do that. So I get to manipulate the home screens to be exactly the way I want them to. And I think I had mentioned this before. I'm actually very organized with my apps. So I've never really felt like they were like my home screens were just this like cesspool of apps that I don't know where anything is. I do keep them very organized. Yeah, I do. Like they all go into their own little folders. So even with my already good at organizing my apps, I actually love the widget. So that's the thing. Like if you were going to tell me you only get one feature of all of the different devices, that's the one I think I would pick. It's pretty awesome. Georgia, you're gonna love it.
I'm really excited. Like I've seen Renee and he sends pictures and how cute it is, and like, customizable, and you can make your screen kind of that, what you want it to be, like to an extent, right? With Apple's control. But like you can kind of now, I'm very excited about it as well. Like I think it's just gonna be fun.
So
and it makes your home screens like more attractive. Like it's not just it's not just a grid of a bunch of little apps that get in the way. Like you can download the most gorgeous screen background and you can't see it because your apps are in the way. You can actually manipulate your home screen to actually show you that.
Such a difference.
I wonder if there's going to be a developer this fall that releases an app that's only purpose is to show one of the larger widgets that's completely clear. that has no data or anything on it, and it's completely clear, and all it does is it shows your background.
Right. And it's just a transparent.
Oh, isn't that an interesting idea?
Yeah. It occurred to me 5 minutes after they concluded that part of the presentation. It's like someone's gonna make a widget that does nothing except it's blank.
And if they weren't before, they are now. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
They've listened to you. I think similar to the way the widgets already work on the, Renee calls it the negative one or -0. When you swipe to the right on your home, when you're on your first home screen to call up your widgets, where it is now, where your widgets are now.
Screen.
Yeah, the today screen.
The official name.
Renee, Apple does have some pretty strict guidelines about what the widgets do, and they have to actually have a purpose.
Could the
so
purpose
if you read
seeing behind the widget?
-1, that's.
Could the purpose be beauty?
And that's what I wonder is like maybe a developer could actually argue that this does have a purpose, which is to create a window into your beautiful background that you want to be able to see. Yeah.
Which is a good tip, Lori, that if you're making this, make sure that there's a reason, right?
Yeah. Give them a good
like
reason.
Maybe your background has information you actually need and it's always there and you need to see it. It's a window.
Yes.
Yeah. Make it
widget window.
Make it like a weather app. Make it like a weather app only. So its widget displays kind of like that Pixel launcher that you see on the Google Pixel a lot, where it's the weather at the top and then it's blank underneath, and then there's like a row of apps. That's just your row of apps.
Yeah, I like that.
Plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a widget a lot of people have been talking about, like, since for the last 2 weeks, is the Siri suggestions widget, which basically uses machine learning to intelligently rotate a selection of apps for you on your home screen. I've actually, it's Georgia. I've been using it for 2 weeks.
Yes,
it's really good.
Is it really good? Don't get me excited and then pull the rug out from underneath me, Joe.
Here's the thing, Georgia. It got even better with beta 2.
Really?
Because one of the things that was missing from it. So in the morning, it suggests my email app a lot because I get emails, guys. I get so many emails. But one of the things that was missing was the notification badge telling me how many emails I got. And in this latest beta, it actually has the notification badge for people who want that sort of thing, like me, who like to live in a certain circle of hell, where they like to see, what's trying to draw their attention. But yeah, I was hoping for that, and now I just need the icons to behave like the regular app icons do, when you long press them, and it will be the perfect widget.
Yep.
Perfection. Widget perfection. I'm really excited about that. I like that. That sounds very promising.
Yeah.
And hopefully it gets even better.
And what's great is you can even tune it. So like if it keeps suggesting an app that you don't like, you'll go to anyway, or you don't need suggested to you, you can hold down on it and say, don't suggest this to me.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's great. Yeah, like I don't need to be suggested the messages app, right? Like the messages app is like it's in my tray down at the bottom. I don't need the suggestion for it. That's doubling up.
Well, see, and that's the thing. I mean, I don't know if it's doubled up for you. It doesn't for me. It doesn't double up with any app that's already on the screen that widget's on. So I haven't seen. So like in my dock, I've got messages, Tot, Slack, and music, and none of those have appeared in the Siri suggestion widget in 2 weeks because they're already on that same screen.
It's pretty awesome. Actually, I forgot that was even an option, and I hadn't added it to my developer beta screen yet. So that's going to be something to do because I hadn't even done it yet.
Top widget.
Also stacks. I know I didn't mean to stick on this for so long, but
didn't mean to
stacking widgets. I didn't mean to stick on stacks. I didn't mean to stick on widgets for this long, but Georgia, one of the other things that you can do is stack widgets on top of each other. So you can have the news app that will show you a particular category like coronavirus or the elections 2020, and then a second news app stack that shows you today's news, and a third stack that shows you your calendar app, so and there's smart stacks so that the calendar app, when you have a new event coming up, that one will jump to the front of the screen and remind you that you have an event in 15 minutes. But if it's not coming up, you can have the news app to be the top of the screen or something like that. And it's stacking them is so much fun because you can scroll through widgets all in one little location. Again, keeping your home screen like pristine and exactly the way you want it to, without even having to open any apps. You're like immediately presented with this information. They're
contextual.
Yes, like exactly.
There's intelligence to them.
Yeah,
like I say that with my voice upswing. The question in that.
Intelligence is as far as an intelligent Siri can be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it will, like it suggests things to you. I think there's also like the Maps app the widget for the Maps app will pop up to the front if you're doing directions. So it will rotate to be whatever is the kind of important moment of the time thing, unless there's nothing important, and then it will just like stack that in that order.
And one of the things that you can do with that is you can go into the settings of a smart stack and rearrange how they'll rotate, because sometimes it won't. Sometimes it'll rotate intelligently to something that's relevant, or sometimes it'll just rotate to just refresh it. And you can change the order at which things will rotate. You can remove things. You can actually turn off the smart rotation if you don't want it to. So like the I'm a shortcuts fiend. So Shortcuts has a medium widget and a large widget, and the large widget you can have 8 shortcuts per widget, and you can stack the same widget for the same app on top of one another in its own smart stack. So what this means is I can have 80 shortcuts in one section of the each for a different shortcuts folder.
Whoa.
So I'm a happy man.
So much customizing.
But something like that, you want to have, I don't want to have smart rotation on that, so I can just turn that one off. And the one that's at the top of my main home screen, I can keep that on so it's rotating throughout the day.
Yeah.
I've done a lot with widgets.
So it's so good. Okay, well, we are actually coming down to the end of our hour, and I know that we were going to talk about rumors of things to come, but you know what? There's always rumors every single week. So let's go ahead and end this now because we're pretty much at the end of the time, and I don't want to make people listen to us blather on for too much longer. And next week we'll come back and we'll talk about more rumor stuff because there are some interesting ones coming.
Nice, spicy, hot rumors.
Some spicy hot rumors.
We all like those. We all like those. Our treats.
Yeah, they're fun. Georgia, I think you had mentioned it a few weeks ago, and I had always thought that I was the only one that gets really excited about rumor stuff. And when you said that, I thought, oh, you're my kindred spirit. I just love them. They're so exciting. And 9 times out of 10, nothing happens with it, but it lets us imagine what it could be like. And that's the fun part of rumors.
And it tells us a little bit of what the future might be. And then as we discuss it, you can kind of you're just waiting for that little nibble of a little bit of information of something that you're very excited about because you're hoping it comes to fruition.
Yes, exactly. All right, Joe. If people want to get in touch with you and ask you about your widget shortcuts and all that good stuff, where can they get in touch with you?
They can find me on Twitter at jkeller87. That's JKELLER 87. And I'm always writing at iMore. Always.
And Joe will be doing lots of stuff about betas. So keep an eye out for that stuff. If you have any questions about how to use a beta, how to download a beta, how to protect what you already have before you install a beta, we've got all that stuff on iMore. And Georgia, if people want to ask you some questions about their anxiety about the betas and how it's going to change their life,
you can check out anxiety-videos.com. I jumped the gun there. On Twitter, I'm at Georgia_Dower. You can send me an email, georgia@westmounttherapy.com.
Excellent. And if you want to get in touch with me and rail about how I don't know what I'm talking about, you can go somewhere else because I don't want to hear it. But if you want to talk to me about how much you love rumors too, then you can find me on Twitter at Appaholic. That's APPAHOLIK. And you can find me at Lori Gill at most of the other social things. And of course, always writing on iMore. So go ahead and jump on over to imore.com to see what Joe and I are always doing. We're all covering all the beta stuff right now. So we'll have all the information that you need about that.
Send her a nice birthday message.
Yes.
And you can tweet me a birthday message because I will take them. I love it. And you have a great rest of your week, rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Because this has been the iMore Show. Goodbye.